Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to the Altibox chess tournament in 2019 in Norway. So after the Blitz games we have now this very cool tournament in which all of the participants are again playing each other, and there is this very cool time format that is here present in this tournament. So if in this classical time format the game ends in a draw, so then you have to play this so-called Armageddon game, in which white has 10 minutes on the clock and black has 7 minutes on the clock. So white has to win the game. If the game ends in a draw, black will gain a point. So I really like this time format because, and I also like this Armageddon games because it really forces sort of black and white to win the game, and I'm really looking forward to see what's going on in the continuation of this tournament, because I don't think we'll see many draws, although in the first round all of these classical games were ended in a draw, but in this Armageddon games we had very cool games. So today I wanted to show you this Armageddon game between Ding Liren and Wesley So. Wesley So also not maybe in top form this days and this previous months. He's a little bit forgotten, I think, but okay, he managed to draw against Ding Liren in the classical game, and let's see now what happened in this Armageddon game. Ding Liren here with the white pieces, he played the move c4, we have e6, knight on c3, now d5, and now d4, and the game basically transposed into a Queen's Gambit declined, although it was opened like in the English opening. And here knight on f6 was played, and now c takes d5. We have the exchange variation of the Queen's Gambit declined. Now knight takes on d5, and the exchange variation of the Queen's Gambit declined is really tricky, because it doesn't give black so much flexibility in the game. Here after knight on d5 we have now of course the move e4, knight takes on c3, b takes c3, and now we have a pawn structure which is similar to the Grunfeld defense, in which black has maybe played the move g6, bishop on g7, and tries to really challenge white's center with the move c5. So of course here also c5 played by Wesley So, and now Ding Liren plays also a move that is really common for the Grunfeld defense for white. So here he plays rook on b1. This rook on b1 is sort of a prophylactic move, because in some occasions if you play something like knight on f3 here, you see after c takes d4, c takes d4, bishop on b4, and then bishop on d2, bishop takes on d2, queen takes on d2, and castling. Okay, white has the center, but the position is a little bit simplified, and with this rook on b1 you don't want to simplify the position. You want to stay with your dark square bishop, with your light square bishop, with the knight on the board, although you can lose a pawn here, but it's really not a problem. In the continuation, if maybe black tries queen on a5 with an attack on this c3 pawn, you can simply go of course bishop on d2, and after queen takes on a2, okay, you've lost the pawn, but you have a huge development here. Bishop on d3, of course, knight on f6 could be, knight on c6 could be the continuation. Here simply developing, you don't care for the pawn anymore. C takes d, c takes d4, and now bishop on e7, and now queen on e2, here castling and castling. So see, although you're a pawn down, you have really a nice flexibility in the game. You can play some rook lifts, maybe rook on b5, transposing to h5 with e5 or d5. You can really liberate these diagonals for the bishops. The knight can also jump on g5. So you see, although this queen on a5 idea in the opening is not so something that you have to worry so much. So here after rook on b1, you see here Ding Liren really stayed with the pieces on the board. Here bishop on e7 was played, knight on f3, castling played by Wesley So, bishop on c4, and now a6. This a6 is a little bit too fast, I think, because here Ding Liren simply plays a4. You cannot play anymore the move b5. You see the b5 is really blocked out. You stay still with your center control in the center. The bishop is on a good place. The bishop here, the dark square bishop, has also very nice diagonal. So here queen on c7 was played. If queen on a5, again you have this important move, bishop on d2. After c takes d, you have really liberated this diagonal for the bishop. Maybe in some occasions black can try and go with the queen on the other side, on the king side, but okay, the most important thing is that you have here this very nice central control with your pawns. So after a4, as said, queen on c7 was played. Bishop on e2, because the threat was, of course, c takes d, and then open the file here and attack this bishop on c4. b6 was played, and now castling by Ding Liren, and now c takes d, c takes d4, and now bishop on b7 with an attack on this e4 pawn. And now Ding Liren, of course, bishop on d3. It seems a little bit weird that Ding Liren has played so much with this bishop, but he a little bit waited. He wanted to see what Wesley So is going to do, how he is going to attack this his center. And here knight on c6 was played, and now very interesting idea, rook on b3. So this rook on b3, it's an idea maybe if you try something like bishop on b1, then after knight on e5, if the knight gets out from this c6 square, then maybe to lift the rook here on h3, creating deadly attacks here on the third rank. So that's why queen on a5 was played, knight on a5 attacking the rook on b3, and now rook on b2 getting away, and now knight on c6 again. But you see, with his tricky moves, Ding Liren managed to do something else. He would place his rook on this d2 square. This d2 square is very important because it supports even more this center. So you see, when you have this center, when you have the central control with your pawns, stay onto it. You have to play really compact with your pieces, because your center could be attacked by these minor pieces of black. So that's why rook on b2 with the preparation to play the move rook on d2. Rook on d2, as said, here rook on d8, and now bishop on b2, defending, of course, this d4 pawn. Here rook on c8 was played, and here maybe a better idea for Wesley So would have been knight on b4 immediately after bishop on b1, maybe bishop on f6, or even to play the move a5, fixing the knight. The knight would be really annoying here on the fourth rank. So that's why, after, as said, here rook on c8 was played. Now Ding Liren finds a very interesting idea, d5. Of course, we have knight on b4. You see, now it seems that maybe Ding Liren has made a mistake, because he will lose the pawn, and this pawn is on e4 is also under fire. But here bishop on b1 was played, and now e takes d, and now very interesting idea, e5. So passing by here, now I hope you realize these bishops are really aiming, and they're really deadly with the support of the rook. Maybe rook on d4, rook on g4, and similar ideas. This is really a deadly attack. So here g6, and now Ding Liren, of course, brings another attacker into the game, rook on e1. And now I hope you see the position like I do, because now Ding Liren has already all of its pieces on very active squares, which is really important, because this bishop here is a little bit out of game, and this bishop is also out of game. Although the evaluation here is equal, but you see, this Armageddon game. It's a fast time format, and you see, if you would evaluate the position in that particular point of the game, I would rather be white here. So at least you have clear ideas here. Here black still defends with his pieces. The rooks are also a little bit out of game, and now Wesley So tries the move d4, and here Ding Liren also plays a very interesting idea, e6. If you try something like bishop on f3, this could be really deadly. You'll see why, what Ding Liren has prepared here in this very fast time format. Queen takes on f3. If you try something like f5, then you have g4, and if you try to trade off the queens, then you have a very strong move, bishop on e4. So if you take, then you get queen on f7 with a check, king on h8 has to be played, and then rook on d4, you see, and it's basically game over. If you take, takes bishop, and here it's already checkmate. So tricky stuff played by Ding Liren. So that's why here after e6, f6 was played, and now Ding Liren simply gets back the pawn with the support on this very e6, very strong, powerful e6 pawn, which will be a very important thing in the continuation of the game. This pawn on e6, it is really important to gain some space. You see, we have already occupied our opponent's 6th rank, and this pawn is really something that bothers you all the time. Let's flip the board a little bit. I always love to flip the board. You see, if you see this pawn here from black's perspective, it's really annoying. It's I don't want to have it there. So you see, it's supported with this knight, it's supported with this rook, and you have already a little bit weakened your king side with this move f6 g6. So the pawn structure is not so healthy anymore around the king. So here Ding Liren, after knight on c6, finds a very I couldn't believe it that he found this move in with so many with not so much minutes on the clock. Here you can pause the video and try to find this very nice tactics. It's not something that wins immediately, but it's something I couldn't believe that he saw it. It's the move knight on f5. So if you take the knight with g takes on f5, then you get bishop on f5, here rook on d2. And the funny thing is that you don't have to take the rook. This is the most important thing, because you can play queen on h5, and here if you try bishop on f8 in order to protect this h7, then you get this e7 pawn, a pawn breakthrough, which cut out the defense from the queen on this pawn on h7. You cut off here really this 7th rank, because you cannot take. If the rook takes, you cannot deliver checkmate, because the queen is covering this very important square. So you see, after e7 and queen on e7, rook takes on e7, here bishop takes on e7, and now comes also very interesting idea. You have the move bishop on c1. Not first to play check, because you want to bring your bishop here on c1, and then after that on h6. You don't want to the black's king to escape here. So here bishop on c1, here rook on d8 could be continuation, and now queen takes on h7 after king on f8. Now you have bishop on h6, here king on e8 would be the continuation, and now queen on g6, a very cool checkmate. So tricky stuff you see by Ding Liren. Knight on f5, we have rook takes on d2, but first the check on e7, queen takes on e7, and now queen on d2. Now king on g7 was played, and now queen on f4. You see how important is that you don't weaken your king side too much. You see now this f6 is really a weakness here. This bishop is really deadly here, so that's why rook on f8 has to be played in order to support. But here Ding Liren simply goes straight forward. Now the position has to be opened. We want to open the position for the bishop. Here bishop on c8 was played, and now h5. Now knight on e5, and here Ding Liren again in this blitz time format. He found a very cool move. Rook takes on e5. After f takes e5, queen takes on e5. So you see, if you try something like rook on f6, then you get first here. You can play also h6, but you can also play h takes g6. After h takes g6, then to play queen on g5. So you see, if you try something like bishop takes on e6, then you get queen on g6. You cannot take the rook because, as said, this bishop is too deadly. So that's why king on f8. Here bishop on f6 would be the continuation. After queen on f7, you have queen on h6. If you remove the king on g8, then you get checkmated on h8. So if you move the king here on e8, then you get, of course, bishop on g6, and this would be game over. So after queen on e5, here king on h6 was played. H takes g6, h takes g6. Now queen on h2 with a check, king on g5, and here queen on g3. And in this position, Wesley So resigned, because if you try something like this, then you get checkmated anyway. So you see, you have to bring your king towards your pawns, and it's game over. So unbelievable stuff. Very cool game, I think, by Ding Liren. Unbelievable attack with this bishop is pair. You see, it's really sort of an instructive game how to use the bishop pair. And Ding Liren with this win also joined some other players who have won after this first round, in this Armageddon round. So we have now a situation in which 5 players have 1.5 points, and the others have only half of points because of this classical time formatted point that they gained, but they lost in this Armageddon games. Okay, I hope you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it. It was really something else, and we'll see what's going to happen in the continuation of the tournament. Still many rounds to play. Magnus Carlsen also won the game against Vishwanathan Anand, also in this Armageddon style. And as said, we will have, I think, a very dynamic Altibox Norway chess tournament in 2019. Okay, meanwhile, you can watch my other commented chess games from the series, and you can also watch my basics in chess series, in which I show you opening principles, middle game strategies, and the end game strategies, in which I also explained a little bit how to use the bishop pair in the middle game. And you can also subscribe to my channel. Thanks you for watching, guys, and chess is the best, of course.